But anyway, so welcome, and hopefully I'll see you in person next week during classes. And feel free to drop me an email if you want to talk to me at any point in time. Okay, and then I'll hand this off to maybe Partha to do yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm the Master's Program Director. I'm Professor Partha Dara in the ECC department, and I'll be doing a presentation for the Master's students and the co-terminal students at 1:30 p.m. today after this meeting. I also like to actually introduce Professor Rich Radke, who is present with us here. And we're kind of in the process of transition right now. So Professor Rich Radke would be the new Master's Program Director going forward. So probably you're going to be, meeting with him and, interacting with him more often. So I'm going to actually give the opportunity to Professor Rich Radke to introduce himself. And I'll see you guys later at 1:30.
Hi, everyone. So just what Dr. Dutta said, I will be taking over as the Master's Program Director at some point this semester. I'm not exactly sure what the date and time is, but going forward, it's more likely that you'll be talking to me rather than Professor Dutta about Master's related issues. In the meantime, certainly, Kelly Kritz is the kind of main point of contact on a lot of things, but feel free to drop any of us a line if you're confused about anything. And I'll be also in the Master's Program orientation at 1:30 as well.
Great. Okay, gentlemen, anything else you wanted to chime in about before I kind of take over this session?
I see Walid here. So maybe Walid can introduce himself.
Yeah, sure, Walid. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well? We'll probably have a GRIDE Council member in each of the sessions.
Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's okay. Hello, everyone. Let me just on my camera as well. I'm the president of the ECSC Graduate
We
Student
lost the
Council.
audio.
Your audio is pretty quiet, Walid. I know he's had some troubles in the last.
I think we're losing him. So Walid is is heading the Graduate Student Council. So ECSC has a ECSC Graduate Student Council, and I encourage you all to get to know your council, the council members, and be active with the Graduate Student Council. It has an important role of providing feedback about everything that happens for graduate students, to the faculty, to us, to the department, so that, and working with us, we have worked on various things in the past to improve things, improve the education experience and the research experience for the graduate students. Okay, so I do want to put up a few slides, and I will be very brief because I know Kelly wants to spend time on the administrative things. So I will just mention that. So this is just the slide of the team. Myself, Professor Dutta, and Professor Radke. I hope you can see my screen, and Kelly. And again, Kelly is your point of contact with everything in terms of forms and paperwork. So even if you know that you need a signature from me or Professor Dutta, and in the future it would be Professor Radke, you do need to, unless it's a specific issue, email it to first to Kelly, because Kelly keeps track also of a lot of things in terms of documents, electronic files of your electronic files, contact with the Office of Graduate Education. So it's really important, and also she will check the document and she'll let you know right away if something is obviously missing. So you're saving time by going through her. And we have a system where we actually coalesce these documents and sign them electronically and all of that. So try and do that, because it's the most efficient way for you. The degree programs will have 2 sessions today talking about the master's and PhD. And the most important thing you need to make sure that happens at the end of your sessions today is that you're properly registered. Kelly will go through with you also with details of this as well as the separate sessions. So I'm not going to spend time now telling you what that means, but you need to be full-time to remain a student and to maintain your F1 visa. We've had students who fell off full-time status who are international students be asked to leave, who may be asked to leave the country. And you know, even though we try to help you, the Department of State applies certain rules, and so you need to make sure that you are properly registered at the beginning of the semester and stay registered throughout until the end of the semester. So don't drop courses haphazardly. Really pay attention, and we'll go through that later. There are add and drop deadlines. Again, we'll talk about that in individual sessions, but pay attention to these, especially if you're not familiar with RPI system or in general US system. In some other schools internationally, you don't have these flexibilities of adding and dropping and adding deadlines and drop deadlines. These have consequences here, and you might be stuck with a course unintentionally that you added and forgot to drop, and you'll get an F for that course if you don't drop it. And if you drop it and you fall below status, again, you'll get yourself into trouble. So again, I'm just saying these parts of the orientations and the sessions, please pay attention to them. Of course, you have a website of all the research that we have. Every graduate student has to have a plan of study. Again, Kelly will go through with you on the details, and we will go through details of what it means for a PhD plan of study versus a master's. But regardless, you need a plan of study that reflects your plans. And if your plans change, which they can change anytime, you need to update the plan of study. It's a contract between you and the university that if you follow that plan of study, you will graduate as planned. If you change it, you might be told, no, you cannot. You cannot graduate. You don't have the right credits. You don't have the right major, minor, minimal requirements, all of that. So develop a plan of study on day one. Even if you're undecided, you need to develop a valid plan of study signed by your advisor and by the school. If you ever do a TA or an RA, I'll mention this in general. TA and RA, of course, it's an educational experience, but it's also a job. It has requirements, and it's not guaranteed that you'll get it again if you don't do a good job. You may be terminated midway through a semester because you're not doing a good job as a TA or an RA. So we'll go through again these in separate sessions, but I'd like to point out that of course most of master students don't do, typically TA appointments are not given to master students, but sometimes if their department needs, there could be a master student who serves as a TA. PhD students typically serve as TAs. Actually, some universities require that if you're doing a PhD, you have to TA, like MIT, for example. We do not require that, but there is an expectation that if you're getting a PhD, you will be doing TA time. And you need to do that properly. There is feedback that is collected formally mid-semester from the instructors, as well as the end of the semester. You may, again, your appointment, just like my job, would be terminated if I don't do a good job. Of course, you will be given due process. We will hear your side of things and so on. And resolving TA and RA issues are built around good communication with your instructor and advisor and with us, and we help facilitate that. Again, everything is in the ECSE handbook, and you can always talk to us. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna just end here and hand this off to Kelly. Any questions, let me know. And we'll have a PhD session at 3 p.m. We will focus on the PhD program. And there is a master's session focusing on the master's program. You are free to attend. You know, many students who are here for a PhD pick up a master's along the way. And many students who are doing a master's are curious about the PhD. So feel free to attend either session. But you have to attend at least one of them. Thank you.
And that one being the one that you're actually admitted to.
Yes.
All
Perfect.
right. So I will leave it up to the GPDs if they want to head out until they chat with you folks again during their sessions. Otherwise, you've got me for the rest of this time.
Okay.
My session is, yeah.
I'll step out and I'll see you later. I'll ask for individual introductions in my session, but I don't want to waste too much time. So I'll drop off. Any questions for me? All right. Have a good time.
Thank you very much. We'll
See
see you
you.
later.
I'll see you guys later as well at 1:30 for the master's program presentation.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye, guys. All right, so my session is pretty informal. I'm not going to have any slides or anything. I'm going to go over mostly forms with you guys so that you understand. I decided to add this in this year because I've noticed that over the years, the incoming students have a bit of trouble, especially with the plan of study and how to properly fill it out. So I wanted to make sure to do that. And then we do have some new forms related to the new way we do our qualifying exam, our new RQE as we call it. And so I wanted to go over some of that stuff with you guys. Some of this is going to pertain specifically to just the master students. Some of this is going to pertain to just the PhD students. So just kind of bear with me because I know we've got both groups on the chat here. So I am going to share my screen and then let me know if you guys can see it in just a moment when I pull it up. Okay, are you guys able to see that? Okay, I'm gonna get a couple thumbs ups. Perfect. Okay, so I'm actually gonna pop over to a different screen for a moment here. So I'm gonna go over the plans of study. I'm gonna first do the masters for those students. I believe most, if not all of our master's students on this session are co-term. Not that that makes a huge difference in how you fill this out. No matter what, master students, and this will be good for the PhD students who might have an interest in adding a master's as well, just so you guys are aware also. So 30 credits for the master's. You need at least one math, 18 credits of ECSE, 18 credits of 6,000 level. So you'll notice all of that here. Now, for those of you who have been with RPI, you know that a lot of times the math classes are 4 credits, but you'll notice here it has it as 3 credits. We purposely do that because a lot of times it'll put you over on the credits. And OGE is very particular about how the credits show. So even if it's a 4 credit class, even if it's going to be 4 credits when you take it, and that'll show up on your transcript, on the plan of study, if it will put you over the 30 credits, then we ask you to change it to 3 credits because they want 30 credits exactly. So just something to keep in mind. Obviously, there's missing pieces on the top and bottom because I took this from an actual student. So I didn't want to give you guys their identification information, but I'll show you what the full form looks like a little bit later on so that you can see, you know, where signatures need to go and things like that. For our PhD students, I know some of you are coming in with a bachelor's, some of you are coming in with a master's already from another university. Or I know I've got at least one of you on here who I think did a master's with us and is continuing on to a PhD. So this is for students who are doing a PhD and have already completed a master's. So you'll notice here, you know, the person put this is their master's that they took, you can have up to 24 credits of your master's transferred. So this is what it would look like. Now, obviously, if you come in with a master's, but it's not from us, you would instead put here, you know, master's from Columbia, master's from University of Texas, wherever it is that you got it from. And then your 24 credits, the semester that you're coming into the program, so F 2021. And then for the rest, obviously, it's courses plus dissertation. You can take between 12 and 36 credits of dissertation. The rest has to be filled with regular courses. Of the regular courses that you would take, you have to have 2/3 of it be 6,000 level. The rest can be 4,000 level. So for every 2 6,000 level, you can have 1 4,000 level. So just keep that in mind when you're putting that together. This student did 36 credits of the dissertation. You don't have to put all 36 credits on. There will be plenty of you who will probably do more than 36 credits of dissertation in order to do all the work that you intend to do with your research while you're here. That is perfectly fine, but no more than 36 on the plan of study. So we have plenty of students who are taking more than 72 credits, whether they're here with or without a master's, because of those dissertation credits, or they decided they wanted to take an additional course or a couple additional courses. That is perfectly fine as long as what is requested for the plan of study is what is showing on the plan of study. And again, as Professor Abuzi mentioned, I will be checking everything that you guys send in. So if I see something doesn't look right or it doesn't fit the requirements the way it's supposed to, I'm going to send it back and give you, you know, here's what's wrong with this. Here's how I suggest fixing it, that kind of thing, so that you're not just in the dark on how to do the fixes. As far as those with no masters, your plan of study is probably going to look a little bit more like this, where you've got everything on here of the 72 credits because you don't have a master's to add in. So again, the same rules apply. You still need a math. You still need 2/3 of your regular coursework to be 6,000 level, and between 12 and 36 credits of dissertation. And, you know, some students put in, you know, all their coursework and then their dissertation. Some students put it in full chronological order. I will say we started doing, and we haven't kind of pushed this out yet, but with you guys being kind of the first group officially since we created the templates, we have new templates, and I'm going to show you those in a moment, that kind of breaks down the stuff I've been talking about a little bit more. So it should hopefully help moving forward. So let me go now to, so here's our department website. Of course, you guys are graduates, so we'll go under there. And you'll see we've got the doctoral program, master's program, and then our coterm. And you'll find in each of those sections, all the stuff I've been talking about is usually in the bulleted section. Same thing for the master's students. We've got two variations. You've got a thesis or a non-thesis for the master's students. And again, the information that you need for the plan of study is in bullet points. No 1,000 or 2,000 level courses will count towards your master's or PhD. I know I've got 1 or 2 students that I've been in communication with who are taking like a 1,000 or 2,000 level course as a prep. You know, maybe you did a degree that is a little bit outside of the area, and so you wanted to get some more preparation for the work that you'll be doing. That's perfectly fine. And those credits will count towards your overall credits as far as, you know, keeping you full time. But they will not count on your plan of study towards your graduate degree. Excuse me. As far as our master's students, if you are intending to do it with thesis, if you don't have an advisor yet, especially if you're co-term, make sure you get one ASAP, because you guys only have a short time to get this done. If you're not doing thesis, that is perfectly fine. Master students without thesis, their automatic advisor is going to be Professor Dutta, taken over eventually by Professor Radke. So it's always the GPD for the master students without thesis, as far as not only your GPD, but also your advisor. For our PhD students, you guys, if you're coming in with an RA, you have an advisor, because it's the person who offered you the funding. For our TAs, most of you probably do not have an advisor yet, and that is perfectly fine. You may have been talking with some faculty, and if you have, and there's an interest there in terms of you guys having the same research interests, certainly keep those conversations going. If you don't have conversations going yet, I would say just start them very soon. That way you can get an idea of who might be able to become your advisor. You would stay TA through the semester. And although we gave you an offer letter that said TA through the full academic year, that could actually change depending on what happens with finding an advisor. If they decide, yes, I'm going to advise you, and I happen to have RA funds, and I believe you're ready, they may switch you over to an RA in the spring. They may also say, okay, I want you to keep working at the TA work and do some research on the side with me, you know, through dissertation credits, and we'll put you as an RA later on. So it all depends on what happens with those conversations, who you end up with, what they have available in terms of funding, and where they feel you are in terms of your readiness to be an RA. So just something to keep in mind. Now, over on the side here, we of course have the different pieces that I pointed out on the previous page. Grad admissions, you guys are in, so you don't have to worry about that. Research opportunities, I would say that's a good area to go look at. I'm not 100% sure if this is fully up to date. There might be some other adjustments or new projects. So just keep that in mind. Like, I know this is definitely not up to date because this gentleman is no longer here, unfortunately. So just something to keep in mind, you know, look through this, but also look through, if you go to our people section, look through and you will find the different faculty. Now, anyone that has lecturer next to their name is not going to have funding, so I would say steer clear of those folks. They will be great teachers, but unfortunately would not be able to advise you at this time. But most of these folks are willing to take on students. Some of them are still willing to take on students even if they don't have the funding, because hopefully they can try to find funding later and keep you as a TA for a bit. So I would say those are your areas you want to go check out. So if I go, oops. There's a couple different pages here and this messes me up. Okay, so if we go back to here, we also have, again, you know, our information, Professor Radke's information will be added here, you know, once the official switch happens. The other big area I want to point out to you guys is this forms and information section. So OGE is going to be a big player in what happens through your program, no matter whether you're a master's or a PhD student. They have their forms. This is the original plan of study. So this is what it would normally look like. You know, this is all the information you need to fill out up top, your signature, your advisor's signature, and then that's the point when it comes to me to do a review. And then I will get the GPD signature for you and send it off usually on your behalf. However, let me go back. We do have, I mentioned these templates before. So as a department, it's the same exact thing I just showed you, but we've put in this additional information for you to kind of help you out. And so this is a good way to give you kind of like a step-by-step of how to plan things out. I will get back to this major and minor information for those of you in the PhD in just a moment. So that is the one with your master's. Here's the one without the master's, same general idea, but it's just formatted a tad differently. And then for the MS students, here's a variation for you. So I would say that's probably the section you want to go with, because that'll probably be the easiest as far as filling everything out for you guys. If you go with this original one that is on the OGE site, that is also fine. But we are trying to push you guys towards the template versions that we created, so that it kind of is all cohesive. If you decide as a PhD student that you want to add a master's, you would grab one of these change of status forms, add additional. So you would fill out the top portion with everything that you're currently in. So you would put in your PhD and what program. And then in here, you would put add additional and put in your MS and what that would be, you know, whether it be electrical or computer and systems. Your reason, a lot of times for the master's student or the PhD students adding a master's, it's just kind of something like, you know, I have the credits for it, or I would like to add an additional degree, things like that. Fill out the rest of it, send it to me, and I get the GPD approval for you. And this would be sent in along with a master's plan of study. Now, for the master's students who are interested in adding a PhD, unfortunately, there isn't a direct line with that form. You would need to still apply, you know, through Slate, the online portal, to try for the PhD to be added on at a later date. There are a few additional other forms with the OGE site that might be helpful. There's also, if you look down here at thesis and dissertation, this is also an offshoot of the OGE website, but this is very helpful for any master's student doing a thesis, and then for the PhD students, you get your checklists and the dates of everything that's due. I'm going to kind of stop there so that I'm not overwhelming you guys, because you kind of don't need to worry about too much of this until you get a bit further into the program, and the later sessions will go in more depth on the different kind of milestone areas as far as the candidacy, the dissertation. The first big one for the PhD students is going to be the qualifying exam. So I don't want to go too far in depth with that, because you will get more of that later. We do have the registrar's office information connected here as well, along with any forms that they've got. So really, this is kind of a helpful area, you know, health services, ISSS. Most of you, as far as employment, this doesn't really pertain to the master's students, but for the PhDs, you should have done your online portion of your I-9 already. And then international students, you should be working with payroll if you have not already to go do part 2. Domestic students, you are working with me. So I think I only have 1 or 2 of you left that need to come see me. So just pop by my office during normal hours, and we can get that completed for you that way. And the thing is too, is you definitely want to get that done ASAP, because we can't put funding into the system for you until we know that you have a verified I-9. And I got this question recently through email from one of you, I believe, asking, you know, I still have tuition showing up on my information. Am I supposed to pay that? No. Don't go paying the tuition or anything. The additional fees are on you guys. But don't worry, if you see a big bill for the tuition, don't worry about that. It is because we haven't put your funding in yet. In fact, we haven't really put anyone's funding, very many people's funding in yet. So give that a little bit of time. We also unfortunately have a downed system at the moment. And so we're waiting for it to be fixed so that I can put funding in for all of you. I mentioned before about the RQE, used to be called the DQE. So if you see that, sometimes we kind of use them interchangeably, but the new version that you guys would be on is technically considered the RQE. When the time comes, which is not yet for you guys, there's this application that you'll fill out, and we can go through in more detail. I believe that's going to be put into the PhD session later. So I won't go into drastic detail, but basically you would fill this out, have it signed by your advisor, and send it in to me. Along with, and we ask that this part be done sooner rather than later. So if you guys can get this into me like in the next 2 weeks, this can always be adjusted. But again, PhD students, there's a major and a minor. You are choosing one section for each area. I suggest going to the handbook. I think it's pages 12 to 14. I'll show you in a bit what that looks like. But basically you would be doing 3 courses from the major area, 2 from the minor area. And I got this question as well recently, especially from a student who did their master's with us and took some of our classes already. You can waive up to 2 courses of these 5. And so what you would do is fill out everything in the top 2 sections and then put whether or not you're waiving it. So if you're not waiving it, you just put no, and you have the semester in which you intend to take it. If you are waiving it, you then put it down here and tell us what the equivalent is. You know, whether it be, it looks like we've got an exact match from another university you took it at, or you were with us for a master's and already took that course with us. And then we go through the approval process again and you send it in to me. So if you guys can get that to me, probably I would say by the 10th would be preferable. And speaking of the 10th, I know I sent out to all of you, master's and PhD, about the communication and intellectual property forms. Those are also due on the 10th, so don't forget to get those to me. Not something for you guys this semester, but something to potentially consider for the future. We do have a mentor program where, and this is the application here, it's pretty simple. You just kind of tell us who you are, what you've got going on for the semester, and it would be you mentoring a handful of undergrad students who might be interested in coming into a graduate program. So I usually don't ask first semester grad students, but I wanted to make you aware of it in case you have an interest in doing it in the spring. And then as far as those doing a TA, I highly recommend checking out this TA best practices form. There is a bit of information here, I will say, but it is all extremely helpful. It was put together by one of our grad council members, along with a few other students who have been TAs in the past, and it kind of all was a culmination of what they've learned over their time being in the position. So I highly recommend checking that out at some point, because we certainly want you guys to be really good at the job. As far as the handbook, we always have an updated copy right here. You can either click on the icon or the little link below. And as I mentioned, and for the MS students, this can also be helpful in terms of kind of getting you the area that you might be interested in, you know, getting you those courses. And again, this will go into more detail in the other session, but here is your different courses under each of the the areas of interest. So like I said, page 12 through 14 in the handbook. So take a look at that. That'll help you for the PhD students. That'll help you with that major minor form to fill that out and send that in to me. It may also very well help you with getting the plan of study created. And then, like I said, to the master's students, this will most likely be helpful to you as well in terms of kind of finding what works for you in the area of interest you have. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that pretty much covers it for the most part. We have a couple of other pieces of information along here. I do want to point you in the direction of the Grad Student Council. You guys will meet them as part of their official session tomorrow at, I think it's noon. And so these are our members. Lauren here is actually one of the ones that was heading up the creation of that TA best practices. Waleed is the president currently. I know Sergio was on this session earlier. I can't tell if Ming or Barack popped on at all, but you will meet them as part of the session tomorrow. I recommend getting involved. If you have an interest, I believe Waleed and the group will probably explain tomorrow, but I think they'll be having like nominations and voting and whatnot, elections coming up fairly soon. So, something to keep in mind to get yourself involved and help be a voice for, for the rest of your colleagues in the grad program and letting us know, when things are not quite what you want them to be, so we can help you guys kind of fix the situation. The other thing too is, although we currently have mostly PhD students in the grad council, master students are able to be part of it as well, and we encourage you to also get involved. I think that's pretty much about all I have for you. When in doubt, reach out. As mentioned previously, I am your kind of major point of contact within the department. So if you ever have any questions, even if you think it has nothing to do with what I would be working on, feel free to ask me the question, because I can, at least if it doesn't pertain to me or if I don't know the answer for you, I will be more than happy to either go find that answer or connect you with the correct department. So when you have no clue where to go, contact me. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Is it necessary to match my master's coursework to the courses of RPI?
In what way?
For example, in my master's, I think two courses are similar to the courses of RPI. Maybe I'm not sure yet though. But is there any matching process? For example, the course I have done in my master's, and if this course is not offered by RPI, then can I get 24 credits from my master's in that situation?
So if you have a master's already, you do not have to have exact matches of all of the courses in order to have those 24 credits count. And then if you wanted to use, if you think that one or two of those courses might be a very close match, or possibly even almost an exact match, that you want to use to waive in the major minor courses, that form, what you would want to do is put in, this is the course, this is the equivalent, what I believe the equivalent to be. Let me just check that form real quick for you. I want to make sure it has those details. I believe it does. So yeah, let me just reshare my screen for a moment here. Okay, you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So here's where you would put that original course. Here's what you put as far as the equivalent of what it would be here at RPI. Here's where you put the school that it would be coming from, when you completed it, and the grade that you got.
Okay.
And so that, you know, if you feel as though there's something from your master's that works there, that's where you want to put it. I would say, especially if you are coming as a student who got their master's from another university, send with this form a syllabus from that course. Try to dig up a syllabus and send that with it, so that we can verify that we agree that it's an equivalent.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just thought of one other thing because I noticed it on here. For those of you without an advisor, this is the form you're going to want to fill out once you do get your advisor. I'm not a huge stickler for this date, but I highly recommend using that as your deadline so that you have an idea of what's going on sooner rather than later, because through the middle of the semester, we will be talking to the faculty about their funding for the spring. So just something to think about. But that is also in the forms area. What other questions are there?
For the advisor form, in this semester I am an RA, so I already have advisor. So do I need to submit this form?
No. If you guys are an RA, I already know who your advisor is. That form is more so for the TAs, since you guys have to do a little bit of work on determining who that advisor will be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got.
I have a couple questions.
Go for it.
Oh, you go first. You go first.
You go first.
Okay. I wanted to ask about I'm a TA and about getting my own advisor. You said that so like our stipends are for the teaching assistantship position right now, right? And then you take a combination of regular classes and then any thesis work with them. So I'm just trying to get a picture of what like my semester load would look like. So I assume I would probably start by doing some research work with them on the side, and then you said that you might be able to switch to full research funding at some point, or what? Also, like, is it also possible to take just my TA responsibilities and all regular classes for the first semester if I need that number of credits or whatever?
Yeah, so it really, I mean, the nice thing about the way our program works is you guys kind of determine what classes you're taking, when you're taking them, that kind of thing. So there's no set, you should be doing this at this time. There isn't even a set, you should be doing this because you're a TA or because you're an RA. Each person's going to be different. So when I say maybe some research on the side while you're doing your TA work, that would most likely be through dissertation credits. So you are still getting credit as if it's a regular course. You know, if you're in your first semester doing dissertation work, some TAs sometimes will take it under Professor Abu-Zeid because they don't officially have an advisor yet. Or they may talk to a professor that they're interested in working with and see, can I even just sign up for 1 or 2 or 3 dissertation credits with you? And maybe they'll give you some like reading material that you know, go through it and kind of put together your own analysis and say, and then present to them, you know, here's what I've learned out of this, here's my interest moving forward, that kind of a thing. So it could be something as simple as that, as far as getting you kind of started with everything. However, the thing is too, is you are not required at all to take dissertation credits in your first semester, especially as a TA.
Okay.
RAs, I would recommend, because you are already assigned to someone, you might want to throw in some dissertation credits besides your research assistantship that you're doing can kind of all work together in a sense. But for the TAs, you are not required to start with dissertation credits in your first semester. In fact, a lot of times we kind of recommend not doing it, just because then that way you can kind of focus on the course credits and working on finding that advisor that you would be working with.
Okay, that gives me like a lot of answers a lot of questions, because I was wondering about that. So, and I assume that even if we're trying to identify an advisor right now, even if we're not taking thesis credits, I assume I need to know at least who I think my advisor is going to be, and do they still need to sign off on a plan of study, even if that's just TA and regular courses for the first semester at least?
So if you don't have anyone yet, which by the time I requested you guys to have a plan of study in on the 10th, you may not have anyone. And if
Okay.
that's the case, you can leave that blank, because Professor Abuzaid for the PhD students would be similar to the masters, having the GPD being their advisor. You guys kind of have Professor Abuzaid in a way as your temporary advisor.
Okay.
So he can sign off on both sections until you do have an advisor. Now, let's say you suddenly decide you're going to change something from when you hand me the information in the next 2 weeks to November, and you have decided on an advisor at that time. At that time, you would ask them to sign off.
Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, because I don't have an advisor yet, but that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, you're not the
you-
only one.
Okay, good. It's very reassuring when you're like, don't worry about it right now. I thought I was supposed to have one already.
No, there's most of the TAs do not have an advisor at this time.
Okay, got it. And you may have answered this with the previous question, but you said up to 24 credits from your master's if you have one already. I assume you don't have to submit the full 24 credits worth of credits if you don't want to, right? Or like if I want to take more regular classes here anyway, I don't have to use all the credits for equivalence or something like that?
You don't. So, I mean, we even have students that came in with masters and they're doing the plan of study as if they had no masters because they want to take a number of courses. Basically, no more than 24 of the master's credits, whether it be from us or from another university, can be counted toward the PhD plan of study. As long as your overall credits amount to 72.
Okay. Got it.
I believe there was another question from someone
Yep.
else. Go ahead.
So I got two questions. So the first one is that we are requested to have like 72 credits for the PhD, but it seems that we will certainly like get a lot more credits because we are suggested to have like 16 per semester, and it will be like 32 per year, and will be like 128 for the fourth year. So is that correct?
So it is definitely possible that you would be graduating with more credits than what shows up on your plan of study. The plan of study, again, similar to the 30 credits for the master's students, for the PhD, 72 credits is what is required by OGE. And again, they're big sticklers on having the exact number of credits. So, I mean, you know, we tell students like for dissertation credits, 12 to 36 is your number that goes on the plan of study. I know of plenty of students, and I would imagine Waleed, who's still sitting in the session here, could probably attest to this, that there are a lot more credits of dissertation that many students take than what shows up on the plan of study. So, and the same may be the case even for regular courses. It all depends on what it is you're interested in taking, what you need to do in order to complete the research that you're working on through your time here. There's one other thing I was going to point out. It's not coming to me, but I'm sure it will.
Okay.
So feel free to ask your other question, and then I can always add more in.
I've got one more question. Is that so? Will the plan of study affect anything like I don't know, the your profession show on your diploma or like anything, or is it just kind of a process you need to do?
It's a process that's needed, but it's also if that is not accurate to what is on your transcript, I mean, there could be more on your transcript, of course, based on all of this than what's on your plan of study. But if, you know, you said that you took a particular course in one semester, but on your transcript, you took it in a different semester, or you ended up switching out from one course you planned to take and ended up taking something else, but never updated your plan of study, then basically OGE and the registrar are going to say, this person is not ready to graduate. They didn't complete what they said they were planning to complete.
Okay.
So, you know, definitely always make sure that your plan of study is accurate to what is on your transcript, but the plan of study, because of the credit number, does not have to have everything from your transcript, since your transcript will probably have more.
Okay. Thank you.
A question on top of that.
Yep. Go ahead.
So, for example, a class I was going to take that is usually offered in the spring has now changed to fall. So I have to swap like class on the plan of study. Like it's the same class, but I'm just happen to swap it. Does that needs to be a revision on the plan of study?
Yes. You're a co-term, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the co-terms, I of course have your plan of studies already. So yes, if there is any change, even if it's just a matter of, you know, which semester a course is being taken in, definitely give me an updated plan of study.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I got one question about the Graduate Student Council. So they are having an orientation tomorrow, and do they like send the link or any information yet? Because I think I didn't get the email of the.
So I added it into the reminder email. So if you go back to the reminder email that I sent, I took and copied down into the body of the email. So it's not in that attachment, and it's not in the original email that I sent, but in the stuff that I sent this week as a reminder, it has it added in. So go back to that version and it'll be in there.
Okay, thank you.
And if you don't see it, let me know, and I can share it with you guys in the chat feature here, so that you can save it for tomorrow.
Hi, Kelly. Can I add a couple of points?
Yeah, go ahead, Wally.
Sure, yeah. So just a couple of points that I wanted to point out. So there isn't a restriction on the number of courses or number of credits that you can take. So even if you add, to answer Christopher's question, that if you have added 24 credits towards your master's and you've completed your 72, if you're interested in taking more courses, you can always do that. And you can also audit courses. So there are two separate things. One is what happens on your transcript and what happens on your plan of study. So on your plan of study, it's typically a subset of what appears on your transcript. So you can take as many courses as you like, but on the plan of study, to meet OGE's requirements, you have to put only those chunks to meet that specific requirement. The other thing that I wanted to point out, that especially for international students, you're required to do 16 credits. So do not underestimate the rigor of graduate level courses, especially if you're a TA and you think that I'm not going to be doing any research and I can just take 5 courses to get 15 credits and do my TA. So I think that would not be a recommended option. The graduate level courses are quite different from undergrad level courses, and they do take a little bit more amount of time. So it's really not recommended that if you want to go down that path of taking more than 3 courses if you are a TA. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And actually that helped remind me of my other point I wanted to make about the number of credits versus your funding. So I completely agree with Waleed. You don't want to take the full, the reason we recommend 16 credits is not because we want you to take all 16 necessarily, but it's our way of saying this is your buffer, so that if you drop something, you still are at the full-time status. For TAs, that is 9 credits. And for RAs, that is 12 credits. So the whole idea of the 16 credits, and we tell this to even our ongoing students, sign up for 16 or you know, somewhere higher than what you are required to have for your funding. But by all means, believe that there's a very good chance you might decide to drop something. But at least that way, if you do drop something, you will not find yourself in a bind. Because if you go below, for TAs, the 9 credits, and for RAs, the 12 credits, if you go below that, it runs into a whole issue with your funding. In fact, I can't, if you guys are not registered for the proper amount of credits when I go to put the funding into the system at the beginning of the semester, I will be emailing you to say, you're not full-time status, I can't put your funding in, and if you don't put in full-time status, you will not get funded. So there's a big tie between the number of credits and your availability to receive funding, and that's a university-wide rule. So that's the whole reason we ask you to enroll in 16 credits, because the add period, you guys can change stuff around in these first 2 weeks, no problem with the add period. Once the add period is over, you cannot add anything else. And OGE will not allow late adds. But the drop period goes until, I forget the exact date, I want to say it's October 18th. It's somewhere in the middle of October. And so you still have time after the add period is over to drop courses. But if you drop and then you get yourself in a bind with dropping below the full-time credit load, and actually this is also a point for the master's students too, you guys need to also stay at full-time status. So if you guys drop below, funding could go out the window and everything, and we don't want to see that happen to you, especially mid-semester when suddenly you're in it and there's kind of no way to fix the situation. Make sense?
Yeah. Here I have a question.
Yeah,
For example, in my first semester, if I take 16 credit and out of 16 credit, 4 credit is coursework and the rest of the 12 credit is my dissertation. And for some reason, if I drop the course, then I will have only dissertation credit, and only dissertation credit is it able to maintain my visa status and funding?
So if you only have dissertation credit, as long as it's full-time, that is perfectly fine. However, as a first semester student, I don't at all recommend being in that position.
Okay.
You don't want to be dissertation only in your first semester, because then you won't be making progress on the coursework to work towards what you need on the major and minor courses for your qualifying exam.
Yes.
So, you know, you can certainly drop a regular course, but I would say make sure you've got other regular courses in your schedule as well, and not just dissertation credits if you were to drop that course.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any last questions before we take a break from screen time and gather back together at 1:30 for the master's session?
Yeah, I have more questions.
I had 2 people talking. Who's going first?
Oh, mine's really quick. Does co-term student, are they allowed to have a CPT?
That is a good question, and I am not positive on the answer to that. So let me check, and I will get back to you.
Okay.
I might be able to get back to you by the session, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
And if for some reason I forget to get back to you, please send me an email so that I can let you know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Chris, I think you had.
No, I thought of more questions. So just 2 last things. So the TA assignments for the classes, that's not related at all to who your advisor is, right? Like, it doesn't have to be one of their classes that they may or may not teach.
No, in fact, so you guys completed that survey I sent to you guys.
Right.
That is what is used to determine what makes the most sense in terms of a course that you would be successful in being a TA.
Okay.
So that is still being worked on. I did get a couple questions about that recently. That is still being worked on. It is taking a while, unfortunately. The person who puts it all together is, I believe the words were hoping to have it done by the start of the semester. There have been situations, and this could be one of them, where you guys find out in the first week, especially since tomorrow's the last business day, essentially, before the start of the semester. So as soon as you guys find out, I would say, you know, reach out to the professor that you'd be working with, or professors, because you might be assigned 2 courses at 10 hours each instead of 1 course at 20 hours. And reach out to those people and start the communication so that you know what you'll need to be doing for them for those courses or that course.
Got it. And then the other thing is, as far as the classes that we choose to take, can we, and submitting plan of study, assuming it abides by, I guess, the requirements in the handbook or whatever, can we choose what electives that we want to take, or should we draft our plan of study with our advisor if we have one, or if we get one eventually, or can I at least just submit one now on my own and then change it later?
You can always submit it now, and I recommend that you do submit it early on. And then, you know, it can be changed. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times it's changed for a single student over their time here. So a change is always totally fine. But I recommend, you know, like I mentioned, I'd like to have that information by the 10th. I know I threw a lot of forms at you guys and everything, but if I could have that, the major, minor, the communications, and the intellectual property all by the 10th, that would be great. But yeah, you can do it based on your own information for now. You will have to put in, you know, the 3 courses for major, 2 for minor, and then whatever else that you might want. And the thing is too is, you know, not everyone is taking an elective in ECSE. I mean, there's some students that are taking in like a computer science area, or randomly had a student taking like an arts course as an elective. Obviously, you don't want to have those other things from other areas, especially if it's something like an arts course, being a drastic number of your additional courses. But I mean, we have students that kind of have research areas that kind of flip-flop over into Maine as well. And so they take a course from Maine also. So I mean, things like that are totally fine. As
Okay,
long
thank
as
you.
you're kind of hitting the points that you need.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, I think I'm gonna close it out there. If you guys have additional questions, feel free to bring them up in the individual sessions or reach out to me by email. I will see hopefully a good chunk of you at the 1:30 session for Master's Co-Term, especially obviously those who are Master's Co-Term, you are required to go to that one, but the PhD students who have an interest in that area, feel free to show up as well. Likewise, with the PhD session at 3, PhD students, you're required to go to that one. Master students, if you have an interest in the PhD, feel free to jump in on that session as well. All right, I'm gonna sign off and say goodbye for now, guys. It's nice to see some faces, and hopefully
Is it gonna be the same link for the 1:30?
What's that?
What link is gonna be?
The link is in the original email I sent you guys. Let me pull it up and I can resend that on here so that you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That is the link for the MS session.